Okay, so parashat Bea'alotcha starts. I talked a little bit on Shabbat about the consequence of events that we are going back and forward, right? The chronological order is not very organized. So again, now in the parashat Bea'alotcha, it starts with the order to light the candles in the Beit HaMikdash, which is also a little bit out of context because this belongs to Sefer Vayikra, the works in the tabernacle, the Mishkan, yeah, but this is one thing. And then it continues with the sanctification of the Levi'im. So we read already about the sanctification of the Kohanim, and now it's about making the Levi'im I don't know, dedicated to the work. And the work was in Beit HaMikdash, it's called Shoarim and Meshorerim. Shoarim are the guardians, and Meshorerim are the singers. So they had like a special ceremony that they were dedicated to do that by Aaron and by Am Yisrael. Why the Levi'im? So the Torah says that it's supposed to be the Bechorim, the firstborns. But Hashem replaced the Bechorim for the Levi'im. So instead of the Bechorim, the firstborns, the Levi'im received the rule of being the servants of God. So it should have been that every family sent the first child to work for Beit HaMikdash. And then it was replaced. Why it was replaced? So we learned in different places that it's because of Chet HaEgel, the golden calf, the sin of the golden calf. So we can say, not necessarily as a punishment, but you are not in the level to do that. We can say that Am Yisrael is not in the level. It looks like Am Yisrael lost something to the Levi'im. Okay, this is a context that we are learning. And then in this context, so this is the second topic in the parasha. After that, there are many others. There is a very special verse. I will read the verse, try to not read after that. Just read with me the verse and tell me what is special about that. I will read first in Hebrew. ואתנה את הלוויים נתונים לאהרון ולבניו מתוך בני ישראל, לעבוד את עבודת בני ישראל באוהל מועד, ולכפר על בני ישראל, ולא יהיה בבני ישראל נגף, וגשת בני ישראל אל הקודש. Yeah. So if I had to mark this composition, I would give them like 5 out of 10, because there is a rule that you don't repeat words, right? Here, I will translate. It said, I will put the Levi'im subordinated to Aharon and his sons out of Bnei Israel to work the work of Bnei Israel be'oel moed, in the tabernacle. So it should have been the work of Bnei Israel in the tabernacle, right? It should have been of Bnei Israel. But instead of saying לעבוד את עבודת בני ישראל, it could have said they are given to Aaron from Bnei Israel to make their work, לעבוד את עבודתם, ולכפר על בני ישראל, and to atone on בני ישראל. It could have said לכפר עליהם, to atone for them, ולא יהיה בבני ישראל, and it wouldn't be in them, but again, בני ישראל, נגף בגשת בני ישראל אל הקודש. When they approach to the... So first of all, let's just translate this verse, and then again, but we can notice it's a very special verse where the words Bnei Israel repeats 5 times. It's unusual. Most of them, or even all of them, apart from the first one, could have been replaced by the word them in different ways. And it looks like it's repeating the word Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel in purpose. Apart from that, all the information that we have in this verse was already said in former verses that I didn't bring here. So all this verse is unnecessary, right? It should have been deleted. Chas v'shalom, we don't delete anything from the Torah, right? But okay, anyway, so it says, and I will give the Levi'im, you can say subordinated, I mean, under the leadership of Aaron, so under the rule of Aaron and his sons, out of Bnei Israel, to work of the work of Bnei Israel, meaning Am Yisrael should have been doing this work, and now the Levi'im are going to do instead of Bnei Israel. Ulechaper al Bnei Israel, and also to atone for Bnei Israel. This is also strange, because the work of the Levi'im doesn't atone anything. The work of the Kohanim atone, but the work of the Levi'im, they sing and open the gates. So maybe it's also opening the gates, also it's opening the gates for the atonement, but it's not clear. There are some questions that, asking about that, why it says to atone, and then it add, Velo yeh bivnei Israel negef, and it's going to be, not going to be a pandemic, how do you say negef? Plague, yeah. There's not going to be plague in Bnei Israel when Bnei Israel approach the Kodesh. So the Levi'im, the rule of the Levi'im was to guard, so Am Israel cannot get closer to the place where they are not supposed to go and touch. So the Levi'im are the one who are responsible for the distance. Okay, so Am Israel won't be hurt. It should have been, the Levi'im should guard the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, etc. So again, but the question here is why to repeat the word Bnei Israel 5 times. So the word 5, you know that when we have numbers in Judaism, always we connect things. When you have 7, automatically we think about Shabbat. When we have 8, we think about Brit Milah. When we have 13, we think about no mitzvah, Nidot, yes. So we have context, right? What is the context of 5? We have 3, yeah. We have 3 is of Levim, Kohanim, Levim, Israel, etc. So 5 is, of course, Chamisha Chumshe Torah. We have 5 books, right? So this is what Rashi says. Vayitna v'gomer 5 פעמים. So in Hebrew today we say 5 פעמים. Here it's 5 פעמים. 5 times נאמרו בני ישראל במקרא הזה. בני ישראל were said in this verse, להודיע חיבתן, to teach you how beloved they are, how loved they are by God. שנכפה להזכרותיהן במקרא אחד, that their name was repeated in one verse, כמניין 5 חומשי תורה. Like the 5 books of the Torah. Okay, so if it's been 7, it would say like the 7 days of the week. If it was 8, it was like the 8 days of, I don't know. But it says 5 חומשי Torah. So we have several questions here. Why in this verse more than other cases? Why in this verse it was important to mention 5 times? And what do you want to say by comparing them to 5 books of the Torah? Right? You could just say they are important for God, so repeat after them many, many times. You repeat their name many times. We will see that the Midrash doesn't mention. Rashi is based on the Midrash. It says, Rashi, וכך ראיתי בבראשית רבה. That's what I saw in Bereshit Rabbah. So in Bereshit Rabbah, it doesn't say exactly that, or maybe yes, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, again, to mention, it looks like random. Okay, there are 5 books, okay, together, right? What is the real connection between the 2 things? Okay, anyway, this is a nice Rashi. There are other versions or other nice drashot about this. Really, I think it's sweet, right? It's Akadosh Baruch Hu loves us, so we repeat our names many times, right? So this is Rashi. It can be understood literally. There are some questions, but yeah, it's a nice drash, a nice explanation. Minchat Shai, interesting. So have you heard about Minchat Shai? Minchat Shai is, it's usually you can find it in Tikkun Sofrim, in the good ones, and it's a lot about grammar. It's usually about grammar. So when there is something unusual in the verse, in the word, he mentions this is unique case, or you should do here this, how do you say, vowel, not vowel. Yeah, this vowel or this vowel. So this is usually what he speaks about. Rarely he mentions some kind of drash or midrash. In this case, it speaks about that. It says, Bedin pasuk. Din is in Aramaic. It says in this verse 5 times Israel, ve'Aaron, ve'Alvi'im. So look on the verse again. It says Vayitna et Levi'im. So Levi'im is mentioned, are mentioned once. Netunim le'Aaron. Aaron is Kohen, right? He mentioned once, Ulvanav, together, Aaron Ulvanav, and then 5 times Am Israel. Why? כנגד עד ישראל שעומדים בכל שבת בספר תורה וכהן ולוי. So it's exactly, if you're looking on Shabbat, you have 1 Kohen, 1 Levi, 5 Israel. Okay, so in this verse, it's mentioned all the Olim LaTorah. So it's also a nice midrash. And then Tur gives other mention. He said, Ei pe'amim bnei Israel. Why 5 times bnei Israel? Because there are 5 kinds of Jews. What? Ah, you don't see? Maybe here. Too much. It's okay? This will hold up here. Okay, so it says we have 5 kinds of Jews, all of them are kosher. Okay, we have 5 kinds of Jews, that's the reason they said Bnei Israel. 2, so you say, כנגד כהנים, לוויים, ישראלים, גרים, גרים is converts, and עבדים משוחררים. Slaves, released slaves. So slaves, there are 2 kinds of slaves in the Torah. We have Hebrew slaves, Eved Ivri, which is a Jewish person that or that he sold himself because he didn't have money, or that he stole and he doesn't have to pay, so the Beit Din sell him. So this is one slave. He's Jewish. He was Jewish before. He will be Jewish after. There are another kind of slave. Today we don't have slaves, but there used to be another kind of slave. It's called Evet Knani, meaning a non-Jew that was sold as a slave. Now, the halakha say you cannot own him unless he will agree to half convert. What is half convert? He accepts to become a slave. I mean, he doesn't have an option, but he accepts to become slave, and then he passed like half conversion, and he's obligated in all the mitzvot that are lo ta'aseh, meaning he cannot do anything that he's not allowed to do, but he is exempt, like women in this case, for mitzvot that depends on time. So he doesn't put tefillin, he doesn't have to sit in the sukkah, etc. If you don't convince him to do that, if he doesn't accept, you must sell him or send him away. You cannot hold him if he doesn't accept. So you have like a year to convince him. And then he becomes half Jew. He becomes slave. It's called Evet Knani. And then if you release him, he becomes fully Jew. Right? If you release him. So this is like a back door to Judaism. Right? Is someone that was sold, and then he can be released and become fully Jew. So the Tur say all of these kinds of people are truly Jews. All of them are under the definition of Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel. Even though they weren't the sons of Israel, all of them are considered the sons of Israel. Right? וזהו קודש ישראל להשם, ראשית תבואתו. So there is a verse that says, Israel is holy for the God, the beginning of his harvest. Reshit Tvuato. Now, the word Tvuato should have been with Vav in the end. Tvuato, his harvest. But the verse say it's with A, not with Vav. So it says it's a hinting the same point. Tvuat, Hashem, or Tvuat Hey. There are 5 kinds of harvest of God, which is Am Israel. Right? So Leviim, Kohanim, Leviim, Israel, converted and released slave. Okay, so this is another drash. It's a nice drash on the pasuk. And then I think Yalkut Shimoni is kind of the origin of Rashi. Let's see, it's also the same idea. Amar Rabbi Yudan, bo ur'eh, but it's as like another aspect. Kama chibev HaKadosh Baruch Hu et Israel. How much God loved Am Israel, שהוא מזכירן, that he mentions them 5 times in one verse. עד ההוא דכתיב, this is a verse, and then he mentions a verse. ויתנה את הלווים נתונים לאהרון ולבניו מתוך בני ישראל, לעבוד את עבודת בני ישראל, באוהל מועד, ולכפר על בני ישראל, ולא יהיה בבני ישראל נגף, וגש את בני ישראל אל הקודש. So this is a verse. תני, רבי שמעון בר יוחאי. רבי שמעון add a metaphor to explain that. משל למלך, like a king, שמסר את בנו לפדגוגו. Pedagog, it's like it's teacher in Greek. This is a like pedestrian, right? Peda is child. What?
Pedagogy.
Pedagogy, yeah, it's come from Greek. I'm saying the word pedi or something, the root ped is child. So all the things that's pedestrian and all pedestrian, right? It's come also.
How about pedestrian for children?
No, how do you say a children medical? What?
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician. Yeah, the same, the ped. Yeah. Okay, anyway, it says here that like a king that gave his child to the teacher, meaning to this word, והיה מצווה ואומר לו, אכל ברי, שתה ברי, אזל ברי לבי ספרה, עתה ברי מבי ספרה. So he always asking, did my child eat? Did my child drink? Did my child went to school? Did the child return from school? And he always speak with him. He is, apparently it's not like a teacher, it's like a nanny. It's like someone is responsible for him, teacher or something like that. So ככה הקדוש ברוך הוא מתאווה להזכיר את ישראל בכל שעה. הקדוש ברוך הוא desire to mention Israel all the time. So it's like the source of Rashi here. So Hashem likes to say, like we have son, you like to say his name. You always say his name. You like to say his name. It reminds you your son. So Akadosh Baruch Hu in the Torah, he likes to say like he cannot hold himself. Say Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel, Bnei Israel, because he likes him so much. So this is a explanation. Now Orach Chaim says, he mentions the Midrash of Rashi, but it says, הוא דרך דרש. I'm skipped a little bit. ולפי פשט הכתוב, נראה כי בדיוק נאמרו הזכרות לבני ישראל. So he explains the verse why each one of the cases is necessary. It's a complicated explanation. I didn't want to mention that. I just want to say that it's drash, but also in the pshat, meaning in the literal meaning, you can understand why it was necessary to say each one of the times to mention Israel. But now, let's dip a little bit into, let's delve into a little bit the explanation of why here, why. So we understand, Akadosh Baruch Hu loves us. We see that in many places in the Torah. What is the meaning here? So mainly two questions. Why to mention it here? And second, another one, why to mention it here? And why five? Why five Chumshe Torah? What is the meaning of Chumshe Torah? So what do you think? First of all, question for you, after what I explained you the context, why it's important to mention here that Hashem loves Am Yisrael?
Well, because substitution of firstborns for Levium for firstborns was after the Egel Hazahav. So it's like reminding again that I've forgiven you.
Yeah, okay, so that's a simple explanation. So you weren't here before. I explained that the context was the Leviim were elected to replace the firstborn. Why? Because of Chet HaEgel. So it looks like Hashem doesn't love us anymore. So here it was important. No, even though there was a replacement, etc., but I still love you, right? That's what Hashem, it's always important, even when you punish your children, is to show them you love them, right? So even though it's not a punishment, it's a replacement, it's a, I don't know, to do the right thing. The Levim are more fitting to the job, but it doesn't mean that Am Yisrael is not important. So he still mentioned. This is the easy answer. Let's see some other explanation, but this explanation I think is the main one. We will see that later. So Gur Aryeh, who wrote Gur Aryeh? Do you know? Maharal. Maharal of Prague. No Ramchal, Maharal.
Right.
Yeah, Maharal wrote Gur Aryeh al Torah. Gur Aryeh, it's explanation of Rashi. It's only focus on Rashi. There are several books. It's interesting to see how much literature there is around Rashi. There are many, many books that were written specifically to explain Rashi. Some of them are collected in what we call Siftei Chachamim. In the Chumashim, you can see near Rashi, there is Siftei Chachamim, which is a collection of different books that were written about Rashi. So Gur Aryeh is one of them. And Gur Aryeh says, V'kashe, ma inyano lekan? What is the relationship to this context, to this place? שמזכיר מעלתן של ישראל כאן, that he mentioned the מעלה, the praise of Israel here. ויש לומר, דזהו דברי ריצוי, שאמר ללוויים, אשריכם שתזכו לכפר על בני ישראל. מזכיר הכתוב שמותן 5 פעמים, בכתוב 1 כנגד 5 חומשי תורה, להודיע שישראל ב5 חומשי תורה שווים, שבשבילם נברא העולם, כמו שפרש רש"י. So Maharal say here something a little bit strange. He say it's not for Am Yisrael like we said right now, it's for the Levi'im. You know, you're going to get, I would say, it doesn't say that exactly, but maybe I should add, you're going to get a very hard job. you should atone for Am Yisrael. So they are going to do the bad things, and you are going to suffer. You are going to work for them. But you should know it's a very important job, because Am Yisrael is loved by God, and they are as important as the 5 books of the Torah. So what is the comparison to 5 Sifrei Torah? Why to say the 5 Chumashim? Because it's the world was created for Am Yisrael as it was created for the Torah. So the purpose of the world wouldn't exist without Am Yisrael and without the Torah. The Torah and Am Yisrael together are the purpose of the world. So you should know, Levim, even though it's a hard work, it's the most important work in the world, because you are going to atone for Am Yisrael that the world work was created for them. Like Rashi explained in the beginning of Bereshit. Yeah, Bereshit.
Yeah.
We mentioned that. Yeah, just we mentioned Bereshit, but what is Reshit? בשביל ישראל שנקראו ראשית. Yeah.
Clarification. Are we talking about just Levim or the whole tribe of Levi?
Or the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi received the job in Bet HaMikdash, in the rule in Bet HaMikdash, in the tabernacle in Bet HaMikdash, to keep it and to sing, etc., and to atone for Am Yisrael. So, the Maharal say, the Torah wanted in the moment of the ceremony of the sanctification of the Leviim, this is the context of the parashah, the sanctification of the Leviim, you should know your job is very important, because you are going to atone for Am Yisrael, that Am Yisrael is as important as the 5 books of the Torah, that the world was created for them. So this is yeah, I mentioned that as a question, but the verse says clearly, we saw the verse, it says, lechaper al bnei Israel. You are given to Aaron out from Bnei Israel. You were taken out from Bnei Israel to work the work of Bnei Israel in the Oil Moed and to atone for Bnei Israel. So I mentioned a question that it's written, several rabbis wrote this question, what do you mean by saying that the Levim came to atone for Am Yisrael? Because the work is not of atonement. So this is a question. The fact that it's a question doesn't mean that it's not written. It's written. Right, that they came for atone. So I can give you answers, but I mean, I just mentioned this question by the way, I just say, derech hagav. Yeah. We can say that all the work of Bet HaMikdash is necessary for the atonement. So even though they specifically don't bring the korbanot, but without them, all the work of Bet HaMikdash was impossible. So they are enabling the atonement of Bnei Israel. And now we are telling them, you should know it's important work, because the world is created for that. Okay, so this is the context, the first explanation of the context. And now Maharal brings another explanation, ועוד יש לפרש, שהכתוב בא להזהיר את הלוויים שיהיו שומרים המקדש, שלא יקרבו בני ישראל למקדש, שלא יהיה קצר בני ישראל וימותו. שהרי כל אחד מישראל חשוב כ5 חומשי תורה. So we said, let's see again the verse, it's mentioned 2 things that they have to do in the work. They should work the work of בני ישראל, first, לכפר על בני ישראל, to atone for בני ישראל, and second, to avoid plague. How to avoid plague? By keeping the temple out of the reach of the Bnei Israel. They couldn't touch, they couldn't approach, be too close. So, the first explanation speaks about the first rule, to atone for Bnei Israel. The second explanation speaks about the second rule, which is to keep the temple. Why? He said, you should know, if you are not doing your work properly, you are going to cause the death of a person. And each one of Bnei Israel is considered as 5 Chumshei Torah. Okay, so it's to explain the importance of the work, but not in the part of the atonement, in the part of the guarding, of guarding the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, I read and translate again, and it says another explanation, that the verse come to warn the Levi'im that they should keep carefully the Mikdash, so Am Yisrael cannot approach close to the Mishkan, in order to avoid anger on Bnei Israel, and then they will die. And you should know that each one of Israel is considered as 5 Chumshei Torah. And if he died, is considered as like a burning, Sefer Torah was burnt. So it brings some proof for that, that we consider the death of one Jew as burning Sefer Torah. There is a halacha about that. if someone is in the room, today we don't do that so much, but if someone in the room and the person in the room passed away, you should make a kriya. Why? Because when someone died, is the same as seeing a burning Sefer Torah. And if you see a burning Sefer Torah, you should also make a kriya, to tore the cloth, like in Evel, like in mourning. So we can see from that there is a comparison between Sefer Torah and each one of the Jews. Okay, so this is the second explanation. Okay, I will skip a bit. We arrived to Kedushat HaLevi. So Kedushat HaLevi said, remember we said Kedushat HaLevi, which is Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Mibarditchev, and it's very fitting. It's fitting him because he was loving Am Israel. He was always fine, and he said what we mentioned before. ופרש רש"י על הפסוק ואתנה וכולי, 5 פעמים ישראל לפסוק להודיע חיבתם. So Rashi explained 5 times to show how much Hashem loves us, because he says, כי אדם הבוחר דבר מהדברים, נמצא מוכח שזה עוד יותר משאר הדברים. So if you have, for example, especially if you're a child, you have a table full of food, and you can choose whatever you want. What would you choose?
Chocolate.
What you like the most, right? Chocolate, steak for me, I don't know, it's whatever, right? If you could choose whatever you want, you would choose the thing that you like the most. So you could have think Hashem had all the tribes in front of him, and he chose the Levi'im, meaning he loves them more. They are his candies, right? He loves more the Levi'im, more the rest of our Israel. So that's what you could have thought. When a person chooses something out of other things, it's a proof that he likes them more than the other things that are in front of him, because he chose them out of all the other things. So here, when Hashem, that Hashem chose the Levi'im, you may say, Chas v'shalom, you say, God permit.
God forbid.
God forbid. Yeah. You could have said, God forbid, that since he chose a Levi'im, he doesn't love Israel. That's the reason he wrote, in this verse it was important to mention, 5 פעמים בפסוק, להודיע חיבתן, etc., כמו ללווים. ומה שבחר, so why did he choose the Levi'im? If he loves Am Israel, the same as he loves the Levi'im, why did he choose the Levi'im? To atone for Am Israel. So all the purpose of the choice is for Am Israel. So you cannot say, it's like, you have the child in front of all the things in the table, and then the parent come, and he knows that he likes banana. So he comes, he takes the banana, and he peel it for him. So he didn't choose it for him, right? He chose the banana, but not because he loves the banana, because he loves his child. So in this case, Am Israel chose the Levi'im because he loves Am Israel. He loves Am Israel and he wants to atone for them. So the choice of the Levi'im, the verse here is very important to teach us, like what we said, right? The choice of the Levi'im is for Am Israel. It's not out of Am Israel. It's not above Am Israel. It's for Am Israel. Okay? So this is the Kedushat HaLevi, and this is maybe the most simple explanation why it is here. But then the Sfat Emet add another level. So he mentioned Binyan Ma She'amru Chazal, so about what the Chachamim says, that Bnei Israel is mentioned 5 times in the verse, is to teach us how much Hashem loves us, that we consider as 5 Chumshei Torah. And Avi Mori Zichrono Livracha Amar, my father said, that it was hinted here, it was alluded here, because the Levim were chosen. So it shouldn't be considered as a pchitut, as a downgrade, I would say, as a insult, downgrade for Bnei Israel. And he had something, I think that it's important. Ki koach ha-Levi'im gam ken michlalut Bnei Israel. You should understand that the power of the Levi'im, it comes from Am Israel. So why the Levi'im are special? Am Israel, like it's outsourcing of the power of Am Israel. Am Israel has the power of atonement, and he gave that to the Levi'im. So the Levi'im received the power, the special choice, out of Am Israel, not above Am Israel, right? It's like, I don't know, to give a metaphor for that, but it's not that the Levim were chosen, like separated because they are more than Am Israel, because they received this power from Am Israel. So I think it's a little bit different. Even though he said, V'ken katav b'sefer Kedushat Levi, that's what he wrote in the Sefer of Kedushat HaLevi. So I think it's not exactly the same. The Kedushat HaLevi says that they were chosen for the purpose of Am Yisrael. He said they were chosen, meaning that they were given the special power of atonement from Am Yisrael. Like I would say outsourcing of that to them, right? So this is about this level of explanation, and then he added another point, which is a little bit more, a little deeper. He said, "Ulevaer ha'inyan." So to explain that, and this is also would explain us why the 5 books of the Torah. Deoraita ve'Yisrael kul achad. Am Yisrael and the Torah are one. So this is something, it's based on the Zohar. There is a saying in the Zohar that Oraita kudshabrichu and Israel chad. So Am Yisrael, God, and the Torah are considered as one. What exactly one? Am Yisrael is not Kadosh Baruch Hu. There is a difference, but it's the revelation of the divinity in the world. It's through Am Yisrael and the Torah. So in some meaning, the Torah and Am Yisrael is one, meaning the Torah is the soul of Am Yisrael. Right? So it's the interior part of Am Yisrael. So you can compare the Torah and Am Yisrael. וכמו שיש בתורה היא חלקים, the same as the Torah has 5 parts, also in the man, in the person, we have 5 motzot hapeh. What is 5 motzot hapeh? 5 outcomes of the mouth. What does it mean? In order to pronounce letters, there are 5 places in the mouth that you are doing that. There is a tone, for example, lamed. There is the chech. How do you say chech? No, the upper part of the mouth. Gim. Palate, yeah. So there are letters that come from the palate, like chet, che, it's come from here. There are letters that come from the teeth, like shin, even though it's connection between the tone and the teeth, but it's considered as the teeth. So how much we have the tone, we have the and pay is from the lips, right? So we have teeth, tone, lips, palate, and I think that one is the throat, ein, right? So these are 5 motzot hapeh. The 5, so all the letters come from one of those. I think I spoke about that when you spoke about rechilut, regel, and rechilut. It's come gimel and kaf. Many letters that come from the same place can change. In many similar words would change only between 2 letters that have come from the same family, right? So gimel and kaf can be replaced many times, and so there are some. There are family of letters, right? So it says the Torah has 5 parts, the same as a man, as a human being, has 5 outcomes of the mouth. Uve'emet, and then truly or actually, the word is tziyur adam. It's like it's also a very famous idea that the word is like a big man, or the man is a little word. So there is a comparison between the word and man. ובכלל, בני ישראל הם הפה. So if you compare the word to the human beings, to the humanity, עם ישראל is compared to the mouth. כמו שכתוב, כוחן של ישראל בפה. So as it says in other midrash, that the power of Am Yisrael is in the mouth. Where it's come from? From the verse of Yaakov and Esau. Yitzchak, when Yaakov came to Yitzchak, to the blessing, so he said, Akol kol Yaakov, vayadayim yedei Esau. The voice is the voice of Yaakov, and the hands are the hands of Esau. So Yaakov was putting the clothes of Esau, but he still heard the voice of Yaakov. From that, Chachamim take the idea that the hands of the material world is for Esau. Esau is strong in the things of this world, while Yaakov is good in speaking. Speaking how? Speaking with tefillah and speaking with Torah. So this is the power of the Torah and the tefillah. So ובכלל בני ישראל הם הפה. So if you're talking about the world, the human being as a word, inside this word we have עם ישראל as the mouth. כמו שכתוב, like it says, כוחן של ישראל, the power of עם ישראל is in the mouth. כי כמו שבהי מוצאות הפה מתגלה רצון האדם מכוח אל הפועל, כמו כן על ידי בני ישראל נשלם פנימיות הרצון מכל הנבראים. So he said another thing, when we speak, we reveal our interior will, right? So you have thought, you have think inside yourself, and you express them by speaking. So you are like taking them into reality by speaking. So, so this is a tool to bring things to reality by human beings. So also, בני ישראל, נשלם פנימיות הרצון מכל הנבראים. So עם ישראל, the purpose of עם ישראל is to complete, to fulfill the interior will of all the creation. So meaning, all the creation, not only the Jews, not only human beings, all the creation, deeply inside, they want to fulfill the will of Hashem, the will of God. It's only very hard, so we have very obstacles in this world. So the tool in order to take that into reality is through Am Yisrael. So we have this job. We also fail in this job many times, unfortunately, but the job of Am Yisrael is to bring the will of God to the reality. Okay, it says the same as a mouse express or bring into reality the will of the man, Am Yisrael should bring to reality the will of all the world. ובפרטות בני ישראל. So, but if you look inside עם ישראל, who has the power of the mouth inside עם ישראל? The Leviim. Why? Because they are singing. Right? The songs in Beit HaMikdash was by the Leviim. They were singing. So the songs of Beit HaMikdash, you can say it's like the highest level of poesy, or it's the expressing of the interior part, or the interior will. So if you can say that the job of Am Yisrael was to sing, but it was given to the Leviim. Okay, so they were given out of Am Yisrael. What we said before, the idea is the power of the Leviim comes from the power of Am Yisrael. כי העיקר הוא, the most important thing is, for human beings, שיוכל האדם להוציא הפנימיות שבו מכוח אל הפועל. The most important thing that a person could express is in interior part. All the people should be able to express their interior part. וזהו כפי הנקיות מלכלוך החטאים. So yet another aspect, you'll be able to express your interiority if you are clean from sins. How would you be clean from sins? By the atonement. So the Leviim, this is the job of the Leviim. They should atone for Am Yisrael, and then they should sing for Am Yisrael. And by doing these two jobs, they are doing that for us, for Am Yisrael. לכן שחטאנו, when Am Yisrael sinned, in חטא העגל, the Leviim were chosen, so they will complete the speaking out in the name of Am Yisrael, בשליחות כל בני ישראל. And Am Yisrael is doing that in the shlichut of the whole world. Okay, it was a little bit complicated, right? But this is the idea of the comparison here. So Am Yisrael, it was mentioned here because the importance of Am Yisrael is by being able to express the interiority of all the humanity, of all the creation, that everybody wants to serve God. And since we sinned and we are not able to do that anymore, it was given to the Leviim that they received this power from us. So this is why it's mentioned here. The Leviim, you have the job of singing, you have the job of keeping the Mikdash, and you have the job of the atonement. You were sent out of the power of Am Yisrael. So this is the Sfat Emet. Now, do you want to see another explanation? Even though it's answering the question I mentioned before, it's not the same question. We have another. What time is it, Tefillah? 8:05. So we have another time for another. So now we arrive to the Shem Shmuel that is asking the question that I mentioned before. ויתנה את הלוויים וגומר לכפר על בני ישראל. יש לדקדק, we should ask. שלא מצינו שעבודת הלוויים תכפר. We didn't find that the work of the Leviim is in order to atone anything. Right? What the question that we mentioned before. ועיין Ibn Ezra וספורנו. So Ibn Ezra and Sforno answer these questions. Now he's going to add his answer. But before that, he had another question. ונראה, it looks, דהנה משה העמידם. It says, we didn't read these verses before, how was the ceremony of the sanctification of the Leviim? Moshe called them, he making them stand in front of everybody, and Am Yisrael put their hands upon the Leviim. Okay, so Am Yisrael put their hands. וישראל סמכו את ידיהם עליהם, והארון הניפם. And Aaron lifted them. So this is one of the hardest things to understand. How could Aaron lift the Leviim? It was like very strong or something. I think it's something symbolic. It's called tnufa. Even if you're doing the movement, they're still connected to the ground, but it's still, it's like, I don't know, lifting them.
Just that he was actually very strong, like you said.
And he lifted them, everybody together.
1,000 of them in one day.
Okay.
And flipped them. Yeah. With the actual.
The Torah said the three things which should be done, so that Moshe will put them in front of them, Israel will put their hands upon them, Aaron will lift them, and after that, והלוויים סמכו את ידיהם על הפרים, and the לוויים put their hands upon the ox, the bulls, like the verse says. ויש להתבונן, so you should ask, סמיכת ישראל על הלוויים, מה טובה? מה טיבה, it should have been. Why עם ישראל put their hands on the לוויים? מכל מקום מצינו שהנכבד סומך על הפחות ממנו במעלה. כמו משה שסמך ידו על יהושע, וכאן הוא להיפוך. So usually when someone put hands upon someone, the someone who's put his in hand is more elevated from the person that was put their hand. For example, when you are blessing someone, you are blessing him, you are above him, giving him the blessing. Or he gave the example that when Moshe named Joshua as his successor, he put his hands upon Joshua. So Moshe is more than Joshua. So it looks like Am Yisrael are more than the Levim, because Am Yisrael is putting their hands upon the Levim. וכאן הוא להיפוך. And then he said something very interesting. ובפשיטות יש לומר, simple answer to say, שהיה נמצא אז מעלה בישראל שלא היה נמצא בלווים. עם ישראל had a level, מעלה. מעלה is something good, something that the עם ישראל, what?
Some advantage.
Some advantage, more than the Levim. What? That's interesting, it's opposite what we think. שישראל היו אז שבורי לב. עם ישראל was with broken heart. Why? Because they sinned in the golden calf, and they were שנתרחקו מעבודת אוהל מועד. And they were punished not to be able to walk in אוהל מועד. So they were broken. When you are broken, you are the most elevated. There is a sentence in Hebrew, אין דבר שלם מלב שבור. Have you heard that? There's nothing more complete from a broken heart. Complete is the word. Nothing more perfect than a broken heart.
There is another one.
Yeah. Yeah. So the work is for those from broken. So when you are broken, when you have a broken heart, you are the most humble, and you feel closer to Hashem. You feel you really need Him. So when Am Yisrael in that moment was broken, because they sinned and they were rejected from walking in בית המקדש, אחרי שהיה סבורים שכבר נרצה עוונם, ועשו המשכן בעבר וחיבה ונבט הלב גדול מאוד. So you had another point here. We are talking here after a half year of walking. So let's remember the timeline. עם ישראל made the חטא העגל in 17 בתמוז. Moshe went to the mountain another 2 times, 80 days, finished on Yom Kippur. The days after Yom Kippur, he was asking for the nation for, they start building the tabernacle. So they built the tabernacle, according to the Midrash, they finished it in Hanukkah. Kaf'ei Kislev, they finished, according to the Midrash. Okay. But they didn't do anything until Aleph Nisan. According to the Pshat of the Torah, it's continued until Aleph Nisan. And then in Aleph Nisan, it was the inauguration. In the next day, it's our parashah. Or in the first day, or in the second day of Nisan, the Leviim were named as to walk in Beit HaMikdash. So only then Am Yisrael understood that all the things that they did, it's not like they were forgiven. The sin of the golden calf is still valid, right? So they thought, oh, we did all the Beit HaMikdash, we donated, we built, we did everything, so we are clean now. And then Hashem said, you know what, you cannot walk in Beit HaMikdash because of the golden calf. But all the things that we did, not good enough. It was like a real moment of crisis. They were very happy to see the fire come from the sky and burning the altar, etc. But then they said, you know, it was forgiven, but you cannot return to your level before. So they were broken. Let's read and translate, okay? It said, there was some advantage in Am Yisrael that you couldn't find in the Levim in this time. that Am Yisrael were broken heart because they were rejected from the work of Ohel Moed after they were thinking that they already were atoned, שכבר נרצה עוונם, and they did the Mishkan with love and חיבה, fondness. Yeah, ונדבת הלב, with generosity, very big generosity, a lot of generosity. ובא הקדוש ברוך הוא לשכון כבוד בארצם, and הקדוש ברוך הוא came to dwell inside the Mishkan, because we are talking after the inauguration when the fire came from the sky, so Hashem came, ובכל אלה, and even though all of that happened, they've been told שהתרחקו, that they are rejected. So they were in a crisis, they were very sad in that moment. וכתיב, and the verse says, אני את דקה אשכון. Hashem said, I, Hashem, with the depressed will dwell. I am with the depressed one. והלוויים, and the לוויים, שלא טעו בעגל, they didn't make the sin of the golden calf, ונתקרבו, and they were brought closer in order to walk in the temple, היה חסר להם שבירת הלב, because they didn't have this level of broken heart. ועוד זאת שנית, and then he had another point. So one thing that Am Yisrael had more than the Levi'im, that they have broken heart. The second, שישראל הראו טובת עין עד מאוד, שנתרחקו ונתנו מקום ללוויים. The fact that Am Yisrael accepted and gave the opportunity for the Levi'im, it's called tov ayin. What is tov ayin? Someone with good eyes, meaning is not keeping for himself, is generous, is not, what's stingy? Stingy. Am Yisrael were generous in giving.
Is opposite of stinginess.
Yeah, so yes, generosity.
Yeah.
So Am Yisrael was generous to give the Levi'im the work. They put their hands, they accepted that, and ועזה כמוות אהבה, קשה כשאול קנאה. So he says, there is a verse in Shir Hashirim that says, the love is hard as death, and the jealousy is strong as hell. Kish'ol, as a hell.
Yeah.
Sheol is hell or abyss? Abyss.
But yeah,
it's the same meaning. Abyss is hell in Judaism. No, it's the same meaning. We use it two words for the same. Anyway, what he says, even though the jealousy and the love to God are so strong, they were able to give the job for the Levim without, I don't know, make a revolt against that or object that. וידוע שעין טובה היא מידה שאין למעלה ממנה. There is no highest character from a good eye. Good eye is, again, generosity. So, since עבודת אוהל מועד needs to be with people that are the most perfect possible, and this perfection, this advantage wasn't found in the Levi'im, and in this point, Am Yisrael were more than them, so nitakan be'asmicha. Am Yisrael should have given this character to the Levi'im. So the Levi'im were lacking the character of generosity and broken heart. And when Am Yisrael put their hands upon the Levi'im, they gave him the opportunity to be able to work for them. I think that I didn't bring the end of the answer. I don't remember, because he didn't answer yet why they are atoning. We only answer the second question. The question was why they are. So I cut it in the middle of the Dvar Torah. I don't remember the second part. So we will stay with the question, but at least we answer one question. Why Am Yisrael put their hands upon the Levi'im? Because with that, they gave them the power to walk in Beit HaMikdash. That was only thanks to Am Yisrael, the power of perfection that comes from broken heart and generosity. This is the reason the Am Yisrael were putting their hands to the Levi'im. It's another question, but it's still a good answer. They didn't have that from themselves; they received that from Am Yisrael. So once when the movement of putting your hands upon someone, like Moshe put upon Yoshua to give him his powers, ונתת מאודך עליו, it says that you give Yoshua, Moshe will give Yoshua from his Ruach HaKodesh. So Yoshua received Ruach HaKodesh from Moshe. And when you are blessing someone, you are giving him from your blessing, right? From your power. So you give him. So Am Yisrael gave the Leviim. What could they give the Leviim? The Leviim they didn't do the golden calf. What could they give the Leviim when they put their hands upon them? They could give them exactly that, the broken heart and the generosity of giving away. How do you say? Give up something, give up on something, right?
But also, I think works with Kedushat Levi that you said that Leviim received something from
Am Yisrael.
Yeah.
From
Through
what they
that,
no
Slicha.
Kedushat Levi,
Sorry,
Sfat Emet.
Sfat Emet,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Kedushat Levi only said that he chose the Leviim for Am Yisrael, and Sfat Emet said it chose the Leviim from the power of Am Yisrael.
Mikoach, yeah.
מכוח כללות בני ישראל.
Yeah.
אוקיי, שכוח.
Oh. Oh, oh.
Okay.